Well, good morning. My name is Nancy Moulday, and I manage recruitment for TD Business Banking. After the birth of my son in 1999, I came down with postpartum, and postpartum turned into what was classified as clinical depression. It's the actual term is melancholy depression. So when individuals look at me and they know me, it's like, really, you're depressed, Nancy? You're probably one of the most happiest persons I know, but I do work at it every day. And so what happened was in the year 2004, my sister passed away at a very young age of 36, and that was devastating to me, but devastating to my parents as well. And managing my depression, I was going to a therapist and I was taking medication, but I had not disclosed to anybody. But after my sister had passed away in the year 2004, unfortunately, my performance was starting to be impacted by that. I had, really not no one interest to look at coming into work. I had 8 people reporting into me. That was very difficult. I was almost over mothering them. And so I made the decision to disclose to my manager because it was impacting my performance. So we had at the time a vendor come in and do a workplace assessment. And the results of that assessment were that I needed to be in an open space, none of the desks around me. I needed to be in an open environment. Accommodation working from home once in a while, so I didn't have that anxiety of coming into work and dealing with what I had to at work. Also, an office with an open window, lights and windows, so I would have that natural sunlight coming in. What I decided to do was to hold a lunch and learn where I could share with my colleagues what I had gone through, what the mental illness was, and some of the symptoms to look out for, and maybe just have a better awareness that these days they say 1 out of 3 individuals is touched by mental illness. And so when we look around the team that I had of 12 people, I knew that I wasn't alone. From the employee's voice, I was part of RANCAN, which is the persons with disabilities. And so what we've been able to do as an employer's voice is impact how some of the training is. Some of the, for example, we had a diversity sensitivity training course that went out to all of our employees. That was a mandatory course to take. It was an online course, but what we did as an employee group, we had a chance to look at that to ensure that it worked for and was reflective of employees with disabilities. So not only having the visible disabilities, but also talking about, well, how do you deal with somebody that may be dyslexic or may have schizophrenia or may have different learning disabilities? How do we deal with that? Just a few to mention. Last year for Mental Health Awareness Week, which we know runs in May, I was able to share my story, the one that I shared at the beginning of our session about having postpartum and how it moved into clinical depression and how TD was able to support me. So that story went out to 88,000 employees at TD, and great response. In fact, it was one of the top 10 most read employee stories for 2013. So I was very proud of that. I've seen TD go from an area where it's like invisible disability, mental health, what do we do with that, to 10 years later where I'm, one of the top 10 most read stories, and that we're celebrating individuals that have been successful in dealing with mental health issues at TD.